Jocelyn Briggs is a true testimony to the benefits of the program Thinking into Results. She is by far one of the best students I've known, and she really lives and integrates all of the lessons that she's learned in the Thinking into Results program. She lives it, breathes it, and she now teaches it in her business. So I'd love to introduce you to Jocelyn and for you to hear a little bit about her story and how it has impacted her in such a positive way. So welcome, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about the problem and the challenges you were facing before you came into TIR. Now, this is probably related to your business, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, I think, around the year of 2020. So it was at the beginning of COVID. I am an entrepreneur. So I was building a business and I was just really stuck. Um, and this is it doesn't get more classic TIR than this. I was looking for every, angle that I was missing in my business. And I remember thinking over and over, if somebody could just tell me what to do, I would do it. And I remember in one of my moments of complete frustration, talking to a coworker in the same company as I was in, who had just had this explosive growth, a true example of a quantum leap. Like in 30 days, had absolutely. I don't remember if she triple or 4x her business in a matter of 30 days. And I was like, "What are you doing? So you know what you've cracked the code. Tell me what to do." And I remember I remember the feeling, but I don't remember quite how she said it, but I remember she sort of said some kind of like woo-woo stuff and something to the effect of it's not what you do, but it's how you do it. And I brushed her off because I was like, well, she's full of crap. Um, but what did you do? And she's like, well, I kind of did this and this and this, but I was already doing that. It was really the way in which I did it.
Mm.
And again, I brushed her off and I said, but what were the mechanical actions? Like I was fixated on the mechanical actions. And around the same time, I was asked to be a guest on a podcast with a leadership developer in the space of my industry. And he had me on a Zoom and he was asking me questions face to face. And he basically uncovered for me that it came back to who I thought I was, my lack of belief in myself, and my fixation on all of the things that basically made me who I was today. Like, so lack of education, all of the vulnerabilities that I was really dwelling on were the, in fact, reason why I was not moving forward in my business, not the mechanical actions themselves. And so I went back to that person, my coworker, and she had taken Thinking into Results. And I said, tell me again what you did. And she sort of described this course that she had taken and how it had changed her thinking and changed not what she was doing, but the energy behind what she was doing. And that's why she had experienced this inexplicable growth in her business.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Really an inner journey, right? You found out that, okay, hang on, it's not the outside things that she's doing. They're important, but it's definitely an inner work job.
Yeah, and it took a couple people to tell me this before I kind of looked inwards and realized. And on that podcast, I had a bit of a breakdown because somehow, I mean, this leadership developer is very good at what he does, but he sort of drew out of me all my insecurities. And at the time, I thought, well, I'll get over those insecurities once I'm successful. But what he sort of turned my thinking around to realize that I'm never going to be successful if I don't get past those insecurities. And those insecurities were like a me problem, not a world problem. Nobody saw those things in me. I saw those things in me. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what this program is all about, right? We start with first your goal, of course, but then the limiting beliefs, looking at your beliefs, your values that you've held on to, and you start to tease those out and flip them over. And then we work on to your self-image. So you mentioned that as well as like seeing yourself as valuable and important and that you can produce meaningful work, help people.
That's right.
Love
Yep.
that, Jocelyn. Were you at a point in your business, like you were going to stick with it, but at that sort of same time, early 2020, end of 2019, you were super frustrated? Was there a point where you like wanted to give up, or you were just really just desperate for, hungry for different?
Um, I just remember feeling really at my wits' end. And as I kind of walk around the world, I hear this a lot, and people feel this way in a lot of different areas of their life. Like they feel that way with their marriage. They feel that way with weight loss and their health journeys. They feel that way with their financial health. Like we experience this in so many kind of avenues in our life. And I just remember feeling like at my wits' end. Like I've tried everything and nothing's working. I wish somebody could just tell me what to do.
Fantastic. I was going to ask you also, like, so you had tried other personal development, professional development sort of programs or following other mentors before. So what do you think? So let's go on to thinking into results. What made you then decide to follow through with the program? You found out this colleague was using this program, benefiting greatly from this program. And what made you decide to commit to the sessions?
Sheer desperation. It's true.
Yeah.
It was like last ditch effort. Like I don't know what else to do.
Right. And I
And
guess seeing that it worked with your colleague, you're like, okay, hearing what you just learned through the podcast and seeing that it's working with other people, perhaps let's give it a go. Yeah.
yeah, it was a very kind of recognizable, visible shift that she had had, and it showed in her business.
Mm,
And I don't know how to necessarily move people into the space other than sometimes we have to be at rock bottom to do the thing that we need to do.
yeah.
Like sometimes we will avoid doing the very thing we need to do until we're forced to do it because there's no other options.
Right.
And that was kind of the place I was at. But by the same token, when I signed up for Thinking into Results, I had no choice but to make it work. And so I went into it with, I guess, this belief that this is going to work for me. Like it just has to.
Yeah.
And that's the energy you need to bring, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't afford it at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Like it, and it made no sense. But something kind of in me said, like, you have to do something and you have to do something very different than everything that you've been doing. Um, and I had to sort of trust that I was going to do this and I was going to make it work. Like I had the power to do that. And, it's funny because I hear a lot of people say this about thinking into results or anything really that requires an investment. Um, this is probably a bit tactical, but like you bring the effort that matches the investment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I brought the effort to the program that matched the investment that I made. And well, I don't want to get ahead.
No, but I love that. It's important that, but we know that this also is a program that does demand commitment, right? That's one of our underlying principles. The person, the student has to be ready and is open and is going to commit to doing the work because it is quite demanding. And so the person does have to rise up and meet that level. But I love how you say it matches your investment. You know you're investing in this program and you're going to match your effort to that. I love that.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Um, like you said, it's a commitment. It's a deep dive. It changed my entire way of thinking, really, right? And like from the core out, like it changed how I set goals. It changed who I believed I was. It changed how I faced adversity. It changed my perspective on really everything. My business, um, I want to say it doubled in the first month and then it doubled again the second month. Like it was immediate change, very much like my friend who had taken it. Um, Thankfully, because I needed that to happen financially, but like it did. And I showed up like it's a study, it's a self study, right? And I think all of our success or lack thereof, is like connected to our self-study, right? And understanding why we do the things that we do and why we don't want to do some of the things we don't want to do.
TIR offer that you hadn't found in previous programs or studies?
Oh, I don't even know how to put it into words. It is so entirely different. I will fully confess that I'm a personal development addict. I always have been. Like I have been my whole life. Always loved studying personal development. But this was a whole, like, if you can kind of take the price tag and just know that the value exceeds the price tag,
Mm-hmm.
um, that gives you an indication of how much more value is in TIR than I had gotten. Like everything else I'd taken is almost so surface level. Like it causes you to go deep. And the changes that happen through this program um, are permanent. Like you will never look at the world quite the same. Um, and they compound, right? So I continue to use this material to this day. I can't remember, it's been a while since, because I need to get back to doing it again. I've done it a number of times, like maybe 3 or 4 times since I took the initial, where I've gone through the lessons and done the study and
Yeah, because
everything.
that's just a
Uh,
side note, but for anybody considering the program, you have lifetime access to the videos inside the Proctor Gallagher portal. So once you become a student, you can forever return to the video lessons. Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that at the time. I play those when I drive. I play them for my kids. I refer to them constantly. So, like, it's impacted every area of my life. It's made me a better mom, a better wife. It's made my relationships with my friends better. It's made me a way better career person, entrepreneur. It's made me a better athlete, right? It's material that I think we need to really cope, not just cope, but thrive in this world, is like understanding really how the world works. Because that's really what it teaches you. And the way that we're conditioned to think how the world works based on, society, how our grandparents were raised, our parents were raised, like we are really kind of inheriting the thoughts and the beliefs and the self-limiting beliefs of our ancestors, of our teachers, of our politicians, thinking all of that is true. And to understand that you can take a step back and realize that none of that is necessarily true. It's all beliefs that we choose to
Exactly.
believe, to adopt, right? Um,
That's beautiful. Yeah, I think one of the underlying things, I love how Bob and Sandy open the program, but what do you want? What do you really, really want? I think he says it 3 times, really, really, really want. Because it is really this inward journey, and you realize as an adult, and of course you're teaching it to your kids, which is brilliant, but that you can choose to rewrite the script. You can choose to rewrite your self-image, like who you are and who you want to be. So
as many times as you want,
yeah, over and over and
over and over and over again.
yeah, and like you say, the value in this is just beyond a price tag, because it can be reused at every phase of your life, and you can return anytime you have a little bit of a jolt. You need a little bit of a realignment. You
Every
can
time you
yeah.
Yeah, you hit a new plateau, because you will, because that's what I was going to say. I forget how Bob Proctor explains it, but I think it's in the terror barrier lesson, right? Like over and over, we expand kind of who we are, right? That's what personal development is. It's like peeling off layers of an onion, right? And you peel off another one and you peel off another one, except it's probably the opposite, because I think of us getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So it's like a snowball. But like every time you sort of hit a roadblock, you go back and you study and you realize, okay, and I've had that happen recently where I hit kind of a plateau and I thought, I know this has to do with something that's going on inside. And it's up to kind of me going back to that material and figuring out what is that's holding me back now, because it's nothing that's going on in my outside environment. It's something going on in my inside environment. The minute that I can identify that, I can work through it. You quantum leap again. So it's like limitless who you can become through this material, it's just up to you to apply it over and over again.
Yes.
I've used it in my running. Like I am a completely different athlete than I was a few years ago.
I was going to say,
I
Jocelyn,
know.
could you give us a couple examples also? I would love one for your business of just something maybe you use for your in a business perspective as a mom boss, or with your running, your ultra runner. So I'm just wondering if we can have a concrete example of something you've used from TIR in either of those.
Well, one of my favorite phrases of Bob Proctor, and I use this in every area of my life, and I actually teach it to my kids, is make the big look small. So, when it comes to like my financial goals, a lot of times it's me being afraid of what people think,
Mm,
or me being afraid of how I'm going to be perceived, right? And that was recently kind of, this is really what I was struggling with when I signed into TIR, was some enormous limiting beliefs that I had brought with me from high school, maybe even dating back before high school, maybe even my childhood, because I was raised in a generation where it was like be seen, not heard. And then I find myself parenting the same way. And so in my business life, being seen, not heard is not going to get you anywhere, right? Being forgettable, being invisible
hmm.
is what essentially keeps you stuck, right? And it kind of circles back to and I honestly think a lot of us, this is what our where we get hung up is like, well, what are people going to think of me, or what impression am I going to make? Or we swing the other way, and we're like, I don't really care what people think of me, and we almost become offensive to other people, right? And really, it is about learning to be who you are without imposing that on other people, and without, taking on what you think people think about you as well, right? It's about really sort of, I'm not really sure how to put it into words, but not being invisible, but not be um, offensive either. And so in my business life, I'm constantly reminding myself it's up to me to be truly who I am. And that way, if somebody doesn't like it, that's okay, right? But then I also attract the people who do resonate with who I'm. Where the disconnect comes is when I'm trying to be somebody else and then somebody doesn't like it, then I don't feel good about myself, because I know that that's not who I am in the first place, right? And so that's kind of something that I'm constantly working through in my business. And when it comes to ultra marathoning, it's the same thing. It's like, make the big look small. So if I'm going out to do, I recently did my longest race as of yet, which was 250 miles. Um, and I had only done 200 miles. So it's easy to get into your head about that extra 50 miles. But what I do is I look at the people who've done 800 miles or 2,000 miles, and all of a sudden what I'm doing looks small and digestible. And so I teach this all the time to clients and my kids and myself. If I'm trying to make a certain income with my business and it's overwhelming me, I think, well, it's not really that big compared to this, right? So, yeah, I got that from Bob
No, I
Proctor.
love that. I love that. And while you're talking, it reminds me of something Bob Proctor would say, but to choose a mentor that has done or is doing what you want to do. So don't look behind you, don't look beside you. You got to look ahead. So if you have this big money goal, you need to align your thoughts and your feelings, your vibration with the people that are doing what you are aspiring to, and sort of
It
make that
sounds
mentor.
obvious, but often we do the opposite, because being around people who are ahead of us in an area of our life where we want to be can be very daunting, and can be really uncomfortable. And it's a lot safer to feel, or it's a lot safer to surround yourself with people who are either where you're at or behind you. And what you do is you adopt their tendencies. But if you can, you know, surround yourself with people doing the things, even if it's mentally, right? Like, it doesn't have to be
Right.
physically, but mentally, if you are studying or listening to the people who are where you're at, you are just going to, by nature, start doing the things that they do in the same energy. Because
Exactly.
anybody that's achieving in the world is achieving from a different energy.
Yeah.
They if they have more money, It's because they just don't have the relationship with money that a lot of us have. If they're fitter and healthier, it's just because they don't have that same energy and relationship. So it's about learning how other people see those things, and
And they make the big
and
look small.
and they make the big look small and achievable, because if somebody else has done it,
Exactly.
it's doable.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely love that. Jocelyn, I love all your wisdom, and I love how this program has impacted you and your business, your family in such a positive way. So why should someone else invest in thinking into results? Why would you, if you're speaking to someone, why would you encourage them to also take the leap?
It'll change your life.
Hmm. Yeah,
I mean, I could blab on and on about it, but quite simply, it will change your life.
love it.
And I don't know any other reason
Love
to
it.
do something,
I
right?
love it. And I think something that I really love about this program too is so we facilitate programs as consultants, but we are there with our participants along the way. So it's not like we just feed you information and just expect. There's like lots of feedback and contact throughout the weeks and even thereafter. So this is a program where people are really supported with great information, wisdom that has gone centuries back, and support along your journey. So I'm so glad.
And just to reiterate what you just said, it's literally the first step in surrounding yourself with the people who are, who are going to get you to where you want to be. Both the leaders and the consultants that are teaching you the material, the entire institute of Proctor Gallagher, and then the people signing into these programs are people that are going to do bigger things in life, right? Like they see life in a different way, and you want to be surrounded by those people, and you want to be studying with those people.
Love that, Jocelyn. I love your share. I really appreciate you being here with us to share your story and how this program has impacted your life for the better. You're experiencing
My
great
pleasure.
results. Thank you so much.